So today is our four-part series on how to go ahead and build a vertical hydroponic system while not taking up a large amount of space. We've already got the structure built, we've got the pond lining, and we also have the water and all the plumbing systems set up. Today we're going to go ahead and show you how we went ahead and set up not only our grow lights and our electric system, setting it up on timers, so that way it's very easy in reducing the amount of labor that it takes, so that way we can focus more on growing and less time on the daily tasks that can get a little bit minute. In simple terms, making certain plants have light. When looking at lighting for your hydroponics or your ebb and flow system, it's going to be by and large the most expensive portion of your build. When most people are looking at building a greenhouse or another system that are able to utilize artificial lighting, that is not a problem. Lighting is going to be by and large the least concern of your worries because the sun provides it all. It's free energy. Whereas when you're doing an indoor hydroponic system, you have to utilize artificial lighting, even if you're by a window, for a good portion of the time. And it's not so much the power ongoing costs of that in utilizing electricity. It's going to be the initial cost in building the infrastructure that's going to be the most expensive. And so that's why most people take a look at it and try and decide what they want to do. That's why most people want to utilize a T12 or T8 bulb system, because that's going to be much cheaper than utilizing a T5 or LEDs. Now, as time progresses and you're starting to look at the 3-year mark, the 4-year mark, yes, the electricity costs are going to be more expensive, and the much more efficient you are in utilizing those costs, then that's going to be one of the more expensive ongoing costs. But as far as the initial build costs for the infrastructure, the lighting is going to be most expensive, and that's what is going to be the concern. With your T8s, your T12s, they're going to be much cheaper, but in the long run, it's going to be much more expensive in your energy costs, whereas your T5s or your LEDs are going to be a little bit more expensive in your initial build, but in the long run the energy costs are going to be a little bit lower. And so that's why it's important to balance those out of what you're trying to do with it, how much light, how efficient, because with all these systems and the modern technology we have, it's truly amazing how much artificial light is able to mimic natural light. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to achieve something like this in doing plant growing indoors. Now, because of the constraints and the size that we had and all that, I personally went ahead and chose and go with T8s. The technology is becoming a little bit more in conserving of energy, but there will still be some expenses. But due to the time constraints and all that I'm working with, that's just the lights that I've chosen to go with. For the T8s, I went ahead to my local big box store and chose to get some standard lights, and with that they also have some standard light bulbs that provide 65 Kelvin daylight lights, and so that's the fixture and the light bulb that I ended up choosing to go with. Utilizing the chains within the system that we developed a little bit further, I was able to string some heavy duty zip ties through the system, and that's how I attached it to it. And yes, I could use some wiring, I could use some chain to do it, but I find that zip ties are a little bit easier to work with. They're a whole lot cheaper and just as strong to be able to handle some of that high heat. Not to mention, they are very moisture resistant, and that's what we have to keep in mind with all these systems, is that it's going to be a high moisture environment, whether it be humidity, water. That's a major concern when dealing with electricity. So we went ahead and took these shop lights that I've got, and I zip tied them to those chains in the recessed area of our build. Now, these shop lights, there are some that have just a standard plug-in that you can use, or they have some that you can go ahead and wire together to make things a little bit more efficient. And because I'm dealing with multiple lights per tier with multiple tiers, I went ahead and chose to deal with the wiring, knowing there's going to be a little bit more infrastructure, but I'm going to be able to deal with less plugs in developing them all together with a capacitor. So I've got a positive, negative, and a grounding. I highly encourage you to get shop lights if you do choose to go this route with a grounding wire, so that way when you're dealing with a large amount of power, like you will be, if something happens to go wrong, that grounding wire is going to help you out when you have the short. It's going to stop it from having a potential problem. So when dealing with all these wires as well, it's going to cause a massive amount of chaos. And so by having these wires, having them together using some sort of electrical tape to help keep all these wires organized so it's not a massive mess, is going to make things not only look more presentable for you, but it's going to have a lot less potential issues when it comes to your organization. So that's what we ended up doing, is having each tier, attaching them together using the two wires with copper wiring, attaching the nut, securing it with the electrical tape, putting it in the recess, and then as I combine them all together, once again using my grounding plug and having it so if there's a problem, I can attach them all together, and then finishing the entire system and making my own pseudo cord with these 12 gauge wires. So that way it's a little bit bigger, it can handle the juice, and then to finish it all off, I went ahead and chose to use a timer system that I'm plugging it all into. That way everything is automated. I don't have to worry about waking up in the morning, making certain that I can remember to turn it on, or whether or not I turned it off. I just have a simple $10-15 timer that I also got at my local big box store that's going to do all of that for me. And that's the key to this entire system, is automation, making everything as automated as possible to reduce my actual labor. Why I'm putting so much effort into it in the beginning, so the long-term labor is going to be much more efficient. The lights. We now have a fully complete and system ready to go. It is a wonderful time. Now that we've got it all complete, ready to go, we are going to go ahead and push it into place, and we can finally fill it with lights. All this hard struggle is now finally ready to go, and this is what we were shooting for in the end with an entire vision. Having a small, compact hydroponic system that we can now utilize, that's not only going to be able to last us for multiple years, but if we happen to move or if our life situation changes, it's going to be modular, so we can easily break it down and move it to another sector. Thanks for joining us on this 4-part series now that we've got a full and complete hydroponic system. Thanks for joining us as we took a look at how to set up the electrical system for our vertical grow hydroponics system, and would like to thank you for joining us. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to subscribe and click on that ringing bell, so that way you don't miss any upcoming videos that we've got, that we bring out on a weekly basis, that talks about gardening, hydroponics, and just general information of how to improve your green thumb. Once again, thanks for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next time.